If you're just joining us, it's Monday's edition of The Buzz live on Galaxy Television. At least 22 students were killed on Friday last week when a school in central Nigeria, that's just Plateau, collapsed on pupils writing examinations. Now, trapped students were heard crying for help under the rubble after the Saint Academy School in the Jos North District of Plateau State fell in on classrooms. Mechanical diggers tried to rescue the victims while parents desperately looked for their children. A total of 154 students, according to reports, were initially trapped in the rubble. But Plateau Police spokesperson Alfred Alabo later said 132 of them had been rescued and were being treated for injuries in various hospitals. The state government has come out to blame the tragedy on the school's weak structure and location near a riverbank. And they went on to urge students facing, they went on to urge schools facing similar issues to, with immediate effect, shut down. All right, so Mr. Zukama, since Friday, this issue of the school collapse has been in the news, and I don't want to get into all of the rhetorics online, but let's look at the more critical issues here, which is the issue of consistent, building collapses in Nigeria. We've discussed a few times at the table as well, some of these issues, but this particular one is of great concern. That's because it is an educational infrastructure. Thus, children, were involved in this particular one. Unfortunately, some of them have lost their lives, in circumstances that could have been prevented with a proactive government. The outcry on social media space, is really deafening concerning this issue, calling out the government, not just of Plateau State, but of the entire federation, on their very lax manner of handling issues, that relates to the welfare of Nigerians. But when you first heard about this issue last week, what were your initial reactions? Let's start from there.
Well, it's unimaginable how parents will feel. These kids went there to take their final exams. So you sent your daughter, your son, or your ward out just to go take an exam. And the next day is that the building collapsed and he is dead or she is dead. So it's unimaginable what would be the state of mind of their parents. So first of all, let me say that I condole with the parents. My heart goes out to them. And the whole nation should really have them in their prayers and in their thoughts. But the thing is that is the problem. It's a manifestation of the overall problem plaguing Nigeria. A collapse of morals, a collapse of ethics, a warped value system. In the past, a workman was proud of his work, of the product of his work. So you tell us your clothes and you wear it and it fits you. The tailor feels good. You take your car to a mechanic and after fixing it and you start the engine of the car, it sounds good. The mechanic feels good. But these days nobody cares. Everybody's looking for quick money. The tailor tells your clothes, messes it up and argues with you and make all the excuses in the world. He does not care. He wants his money. So that is the same thing that is happening in the building industry. People are cutting corners, trying to make quick money. You have buildings built in the days of the Roman Empire. You're talking of more than 2,000 years ago that are still standing in some parts of the world. So why is it that presently we cannot build houses that will stand? And this issue of collapsing it pervades the country, happens all the time. The first thing to note is that a building does not just collapse overnight. It shows a lot of signs. You see cracks.
Of course.
You see, so the school authorities saw it. If there are government officials, building code enforcers, urban planning division houses, whatever they call them, they saw it. And nobody did anything about it over time. And now the building has collapsed. And another problem with this society is that nobody gets punished. We don't hold anybody accountable. Buildings collapsed in Lagos the other time repeatedly. and the chairman of the organization that supervised those buildings. In some cases, they were marked for demolition,
Yeah.
and then the landlord settled them because the landlord needed the continued flow of rent money, and they were not demolished. People should have been punished. The chairman of that agency should have been fired and possibly arrested and prosecuted. The South Korean president resigned at a point when children on holiday or children on holiday died in a boat accident. The prime minister himself saw it as the negligence on the part of the government and resigned. In Nigeria, nobody resigns, nobody gets punished. There was a tall building that collapsed at Ikoyi. The building, the owner, the builder was...
That was in 2021.
No, more recently. Is that far back?
The high-rise building.
The high-rise building.
Yeah,
Okay, the owner was cutting corners. The structural engineer said, Mr. Man, you are not playing by rules. We cease to be your consultant. We won't work with you anymore. The Lagos State Building Code Agency stopped the building. The man made calls to Abuja. Some powerful interest called back to the Lagos State government, and the building construction continued. But it was poetic justice. The man that ignored the rules, the man that cut all the corners, the man that had pulled the man that pressed all the right buttons to continue with illegal, substandard construction finally died in the collapse of the building. So these things can be handled if we choose to handle them, if we can put a cop on corruption. But it's very sad. It happens all the time. The school is closed, or the governor commiserates, the commissioner comes, and the next time it happens again and again and again. So it's time we put a stop to this thing, to this consistent building collapse in Nigeria.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Zukama. Well, Mr. Zukama was having a say there. My second analyst came into the studio. Let me quickly welcome Chief Godi the Great of Force. He's joining us as the immediate past president of Brand Journalists Association of Nigeria. He's also chairman of CONAN, that's the Common Nigerians Association of Nigeria, and is joining us as a public affairs analyst. Welcome to the table, sir. Thank you for coming. All right. So you met us discussing the Plateau State School building collapse, and from everything Mr. Ezukama has talked about, he has highlighted lax enforcement, measures on the part of the government, negligence. Also the use of substandard, materials in buildings, also the issue of corruption, to bypass official oversight, all of these as perhaps the issues pertaining to the consistent collapse of not just school but buildings. But what makes this one really heartbreaking is the fact that it's a learning infrastructure that came down on pupils who were writing their exams, and quite sadly, about 22 of them have already died, while some are in the hospital. Now, let me have your own input on this issue. Do you think it's laxity on the part of the government, or is there a more fundamental issue? According to available online statistics, since 2005, we've had about 152 building collapses in Lagos alone. And that is a huge number. I mean, because it's a fatal one. So, but what are your thoughts on this issue, sir?
It's scary, isn't it?
It is scary.
First, let me apologize to viewers for coming in a bit late. Today is Monday. As usual, you have to put one and two together before you set out for other businesses in the office. Perhaps that's why. And also, the most annoying and the most disheartening is the artificial fuel scarcity in Lagos. It is so bad that we are paying that much and we are still looking for the product and we can't get it. And it goes to show that government promises are not really working. They are not intended to fulfill their promises. I'm just saying this based on what I have observed, right? You don't wake up on a Monday morning in a city like Lagos, you drive to every filling station and they are shots because they don't have a product. and you are willing to pay as high as 800 and nobody is selling. It is bad. For me, if you ask me, there's absolutely nothing to talk about this morning if we don't focus on this problem, because it has become an endemic problem. I mean, we were told in May 29 last year, that the subsidy gone means that there will be availability of fuel. In fact, as a matter of fact,
I understand how this affects you.
I'm driving on a borrowed fuel. It's giving me warning to this station. So I don't even know whether when I start it to move, it will just stop so that I can park it at the compound of Galaxy. It is bad.
It is.
So I should be coming to this studio very excited, anticipating, and look forward to having a very brilliant and at the end of the day, our viewers take something out of it. Not coming here to vent and lament and every day one thing or to lead to the other and the rest of it. But back to the issue.
Thank you.
When we were in secondary school, when we were in primary school, our teacher used to teach us something. Said, a stitch in time saves 9. Now, a lot of us at that little age didn't understand what that means. So when we grow up, we begin to know that when you stitch your clothes on time, it preserves the clothes and stop further tearing into other places. Right? So whatever we're going to talk about building collapse, there is only one thing that is fundamentally wrong, which is regulation. All right? Now, if you got regulation right, every other thing will fall in place. So no uses of substandard products or materials, monitoring and the rest. From the beginning, if you get regulation and say this is what we want, if you must build here, listen, the problem that we have in Nigeria is that if you build in a dry land, people who build in a dry land and have the opportunity to build on the wet land will still take the specification of the dry land to the wet land. It's not, it shouldn't be so. If you are building somewhere in Banana Island, you need to fill the ground to a certain level. But when you are building in Agege, you don't need any filling whatsoever because it's a dry land, upland, all right, that most times you cannot see flooding.
But these standards are there. Isn't that why we have the building control agency? The standards are there.
You see, Nigeria totally, the entire country need to overhaul the regulators, the land building regulators, all right? From surveying to architecture to building to roofing to everything. And we begin to have, and maybe in a few years to come, you will not be seeing the kind of collapse that we have witnessed in the past years or in the past decade, right? Because we are beginning to see professionals coming into it. And even those professionals, you are aware of the one that collapsed in Ikoyi, while the owners was going on inspections and the rest of it. Listen, I attended those boys. It was founded 1905. I'm coming. That school, the principal, the admin, and the principal was a 2-story building, built with woods. I'm coming because I'm trying to let you understand that when you approach anything and you use the required material, the standard material to do it, it can last a lifetime. All right? That building, as I speak to you, was standing until last year when the OS says we need to modernize it, take the wood out and build a block. And I was part of it. I said, look, can we just find a way to refurbish this, because this wood looks stronger than the blocks that we are even using. This 2-story building kept standing since 1905 until I left that school in 1994. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it has been, with all the building that sprung up at that time everywhere, principal keep maintaining that place and other admin offices, because the standardization and everything that needed to build a 2-story building from a wood structure is top notch. The wood has never scratched for one day. So can't we get that again? If we could get that in 1905, can't we build something like that? Badagry has become a serious shop of tourists. Whenever they go, the first story building in Nigeria and land is still standing. How did we do it? What happened? Why can't we do it like that? So you have a challenge in Nigeria that a building that has all the registration and everything comes down. The commissioner is sitting there. In fact, listen. At the end of the day, when we begin to see things like this, we just saw what happened in the U.S. A shooting. He has made President Biden has given a press conference personally more than 7 times since it happened. He has appeared on a live daily briefing
to condemn the action. Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, it could cost him his job.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying, you are saying our government are not.
People don't take responsibility.
The seriousness that the matter deserves. Okay.
The moment you make the commissioner of works or whatever housing, all the regulatory agencies, not just remove them, prosecute them,
and jail them.
The next person that is coming, he has to sit with his wife and his children and review the appointment before he accepts it. Because people need to take responsibility. Because at the end of the day, business as usual. The house collapsed in somewhere here. What they do is that the chief secretary will issue a statement to governor to commiserate with. But I know, God forbid, if the child of the government official, senior government official, is caught in that building collapse, we will get to the root of it. But at the end of the day, the life of everyone is equal before God. The life of a pauper, the son of a pauper, or a daughter of a pauper, and the life of the son or the daughter of a wealthy man is equally important.
We have standards in the books, we have rules in the books, we have regulations in the book, but they don't get enforced. For every building that is being erected in Lagos State, at a point, I don't know the name of this agency, will come and mark X.
Lagos State Building
Code Enforcement
Control Agency.
Yes, okay. And what you're going to do is to go settle them. So for every building that is built, whether it's meeting the required standards or complying with the required regulations, you settle. So the details is not important. It's about government officials making money. And as you pass by, you can see buildings that are susceptible to collapse. A case happened with TG Joshua. The building was planned for, I think, 2 stories or 3 stories, or 2 or 3, and then he continued to build. The building tilted, and the neighbors were screaming, the neighbors were complaining. Government officials saw that tilted building and knew that sooner or later it would collapse. Nothing was done. And when the building collapsed, this man came up with this sophistry, this shameless kind of talk. It was a helicopter hovering around the building that caused it to collapse. That man was not punished. Nothing was done about it. But the law says if your building collapses, the property is seized. The owner is possibly punished. Nothing happened. So we have wonderful laws, but we can't enforce the laws due to corruption and our desire to just laxity, negligence.
Yes, Mr.
Dereliction of responsibilities.
Patient, this must be said. This must be said. You see, the time has come for us to desist from setting targets, government setting targets for agencies of government. You see, these are the things that go on every day. You see a government coming out to tell an agency of government, you have to, in your budget, you have to bring so amount of revenue into the coffers of the government. And when you do that, the head of that agency is going to preoccupy himself with that target to keep his job. Listen, are you listening to me?
I'm listening.
He's going to do
yes.
that. And by doing that, he's going to turn a blind eye on so many things that go wrong, to encourage a lot of people to erect buildings so that they can rake in revenues.
The revenues.
I am coming. It's not. It must stand. There is a target. There is a government target to them. All right. Look, it's just like, why do you think these Agboro boys, this out on the street, chasing a running vehicle?
They have a target.
They have a target. So if you don't do that target well, the chairman or the person in charge will remove you and take you to a less attractive place. So people don't want that. So at doing that, people who have the responsibility, because not every government agency should be saddled with the function of raising funds, bringing revenue. Some are supposed to protect life. Do things that protect life of the people. Do things that will keep Nigerians away from the hospital.
The issue with building collapse has very little to do with collection of money.
I am coming. Let me finish.
All right, gentlemen, let me throw in this question quickly while we're still join on this issue. All right, the action of the state governor. I'm talking about Caleb Mutfwang, the Plateau state governor, on the issue of shutting down the school and schools, of similar concerns and all of that. All right, so because people are also talking about that on social media, talking about governments not being proactive but instead being reactive. Maybe you just answer that as you go.
It's something that is a regular occurrence when something like that happens. Shut it down, set up a pro committee, the pro came out, there's a white paper. If the owner of the school has long legs, as we used to know, the school in the next couple of months will be open and reassure people that we have done this, we have done that. And again, nobody is going to repay the parents of the deceased parents. Nobody is going to repay. And they have the life that has been lost that could have been protected or prevented is gone. So, it is a normal thing in government. The government is a circus going around the same thing, and then nothing is going to happen because the next thing they are going to hear is that the next school or a plaza or residential home has collapsed, and the same thing will happen again. So, well, what we need to do, like I said, is that at least I wouldn't suggest something that is going to also require budget. Because when I say you should have a conference, you require budget. And I think it's about time. We should, what works, I've always believed that if what works for us was in 1905, if it's not, we should go back to 1905 and take that thing.
Colonial era, there were standards.
I am
White
coming,
man
sir.
did not take bribes. He did not cut corners. He did not tolerate nonsense.
That is what I'm saying.
He did not do body. I know you, you know me. Therefore, let's break the law. So if we can maintain standards, enforce the rules, and stop taking bribes.
The thing was that the children of the colonial masters were going to the same school with the children of the farmers from Nigeria. There were no public school, private school, there were no. So they knew that when they cut corners and when the calamity struck, but I'm coming, sir, when the calamity struck, everybody will feel the pain. The problem is that in Nigeria, why that is so, that's why I kept saying that the national.
So far, from both of you, you're all proffering solutions. Two solutions. One, let's not cut corners. Let's be straightforward. Be honest, and open. You are also talking about making sure that children of ministers and governors
should go to the same school.
All right, so this is the way forward.
Okay.
It is not impossible with laws. It is not impossible. It is not.
You think it's still impossible even with legislation?
Today,
what?
Legislation.
Hello.
We have law.
We have legislation. Hello.
Every inspector general of police comes and says there are too many policemen staying with the power elite, carrying bags for their wives, serving food in their dining table. I will withdraw all of them. How many of them, of those new inspector generals, withdrew those policemen? So we talk.
Oh, look, Inspector General said it.
Repeatedly.
I am telling you that. And listen, there are powers.
10 seconds, sir.
There are powers. If that message comes from the right quarters, everybody will do it. All right? Don't forget, it used to be business as usual for police in Lagos checking the, what do they call it?
Computer.
No. These things in the car.
Fire extinguisher.
No, not fire extinguisher. This
tinted
glasses. Used to be, The moment because that's where that's the situation. The moment Inspector General says all police officers shouldn't do it, they will not do it. Now they stop. The Inspector General does not have the power to say don't even the Minister of Police Affairs will withdraw the police from the office of the Minister of Police Affairs.
All right, gentlemen, let's